Hey guys, this was a last minute show. I don't know what else to call it other than perspectives because this um, wonderful young lady just contacted me on Facebook. I never had any conversation with her before, but she wanted to talk about things, and I've been talking with her for about 15 minutes, and we're basically just kind of to give a little bit of background, talking about the way that our children are brainwashed from an early age in the school system, in the educational slash indoctrination center. Let me mute this real quick. And how that affects people and how they become de facto Jews, essentially, because they're doing the Jews' bidding without even realizing it. There's just a blank stare in their face. They have no understanding of what's going on in the world, let alone their role in what they're doing, how it plays into things, and how it corrupts people, because they themselves, their minds have been stolen from them, corrupted. And again, I don't want to disclose too much personal information about her any more than she wants to divulge herself because of her situation. But I definitely wanted to share what we were talking about with the rest of you. So I'm gonna go ahead and welcome her on right now, the northern one, and we can just refer to you as that or Jane Doe if you want. But I would like to continue where we were, right where we were at.
Yeah. Hi. I don't know if I'm on now.
What's that?
Am I online now?
Yes, ma'am, we're live. So I just kind of wanted to pick up where we left off as far as the system is concerned. And
we will do that. That's yeah, it's quite crazy actually to see people going around doing, and they know it in a way as well. They know they pay taxes and they don't know where the taxes are going, and they are in deep finance because they have to pay for education and all of these
immigration.
Yeah, but they when they go to school and choose their education, they have to get a loan to get this education and buy books and everything. It's not free. So
they put themselves in debt.
Yeah, they put themselves in debt to get a doctor degree or something like that. And when they're done with this doctor degree, they have no idea about the body or anything anymore, because they are totally cut off from anything reality. They just, I don't know, I'm not sure how or what's going on, but it's you just see it everywhere, and it's sad and very dangerous at the same time, because this is the police officers and the social workers and the teachers, and everybody who is working who's getting money from the state. If you want a secure life, you have to work for the state. Everybody knows that. That's like logic. They paid generations from my grandparents and until now. So, but you still have to be a narrative. You have to
follow the narrative.
Yeah, you have to follow. You have to be a narrative.
Right.
You have to be like that. You have to believe this. You can't go alive for 40 years and don't believe this lie you are living.
Or you're not going to survive, because they'll take your means of living away from you.
And they hate meeting people like me, because I automatically bust a bubble a little bit in a way, because they can't deal with the fact that they don't live in reality. They kind of know it, but they can't admit it, because they would have to stop pay the mortgage. They would have to move out of the new house, and all of these things tie in with the fact that they just have to go through life incredibly stupid. And I don't drink wine. I like beers myself, but if I go past like in Norway, we have this store where you have to buy alcohol. You can't buy a bottle of wine in the supermarket. You have to go to a special liquor store to buy this. And it's always these fat, half-fat, well-fed Scandinavian women who have short hair and just don't look too happy with themselves. And
Well, you were talking as well about this young girl who was in a system who was driven to the point of insanity, where a
Oh yeah,
15-year-old
that's
girl would commit murder. And then some
yeah,
people would just write her off as a psychopath. But what we were talking about is how people are brainwashed from a very early age. They form our reality for us. And when in reality, we don't fit in. It's there's just nothing natural about this society and the
you
system
can't.
that they have put up and built up around us. So it can drive a person crazy. And when you have a 15-year-old girl doing something like that, it speaks more to the system and what's wrong with the world as a whole on a macro level than it does about that individual herself who was driven to the point of madness.
And that's my point. And these people working with this, they just can't see it. I myself have actually always refused to go to a psychiatrist and all of these things because I saw what they did to my mother, and I just stayed away from them. They just looked dangerous in my eyes.
Well, you were
And
also talking too along those lines because you were saying that when you were young, you knew right away that the lessons they were teaching you in school, it was just a bunch of bullshit essentially, and you
yeah,
resisted. And once you start falling out of line in this system, they do everything to pull you back in, to include putting you on medications. And it's always your problem. There's something wrong with you. Let's assign a social worker to you because you're the one that has a problem because you're not conforming like the sheeple
exactly.
around you.
And you just don't get heard about your own life anymore. Your life doesn't matter because you have to do what somebody else chose for you because this lady makes money of making your decisions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And even before your own parents or whoever. And it's terrible. And you will end up with situations where young Scandinavian girls start killing social workers because you are driven to a point where you don't see any way out anymore. You rather sit in jail than being in this place.
Right?
I
Or a Dylan Roof in this country, right? Where you're driven to a point where you don't know what to do and you do something that's not going to benefit you or anyone else, but you lose your mind and you lose your sense of, of, of reality just out of sheer desperation alone.
exactly, and it's the same thing here, and they do it in a very sneaky way. It's kind of evil, and I don't understand how these people can sleep at night because they are literally dragging small children screaming out of the parents' arms and taking them to a new safe place because they think they might in the future harm this kid. They don't even need to have harmed the kid yet. It can happen in the future. So now they can look into some kind of crystal ball and see the future also. And it's very, very dangerous. It's Marxism in like the highest, most dangerous plan ever because they are setting parents up against, not parents up, but kids up against parents and teachers up against parents, and everybody is against everybody in a way. And
Well,
the
they're
kids
all against
doesn't
people like you.
understand. The kids doesn't understand what is going on before later on in life. So they of course want to please everybody. That's kids. That's what they do. And they want to learn. And
They want to fit in, and it's part of conformity, and it's natural for children
exactly,
to want to do that.
exactly. And
And
it's
you,
I don't know, it's just I'm sick of watching it, and it just all ties together also with the your main thing, the white genocide, because these people are white people. These are Norwegian people, Swedish people, Danish people, and even the people always seen as open-minded, but their mind have been so open the brain just fell out at some point because they don't see it anymore. They remove me from their friends list because I show pictures of refugees, and they're like, we can't hate on anybody, but I'm not hating on them, but we don't need to open our countries for them, but their countries is destroyed. And then it's just like endless stupidness. Just see what is going on in Sweden. If you live in certain part of Sweden, you can't go. I wouldn't be able to go home at night, and it's not even safe here where I live. I had a girl right outside my window one evening, almost getting raped, and I actually had to yell out the window, and I asked if I should call the police, and the guy ran off. But this is normal stuff. This happens right here. And okay, my these friends live in Denmark, and they just got like a big wave there now a few days ago, and it's just ridiculous because it's like they show pictures, and it's clearly not true stories we are getting. We are clearly getting lied to, and people are just eating the lies. And in the same, they don't believe the media, but they still believe the media. They still take, and it's just like that. Way too good-hearted and way too good people. They're so good people, they fucking destroy themselves. It's stupid.
Well, it's like you said, and I never heard it put that way before, but it's brilliant in its simplicity. Their minds are so open that they fell out. And
Yep.
you and I were talking about, or you were specifically talking about children as soon as they could walk being put into the indoctrination system, essentially.
Before they can walk. Before they can walk. 6 months old is the normal age here. In Denmark, it's even before. It's like 6 weeks old or something ridiculous.
So what's this person? Let's just, because I usually talk about things on a macro level. I love to let people know how we're being affected on a micro level as individuals. But let's break this down to one young girl or boy who's brainwashed from before the time they can walk, as you're mentioning here, and their reality is formulated for them. When they go to school, they have to take multiple choice tests, and they have to answer the way that they're supposed to answer, or they fail, and then they get, they're outside the system, but then the system brings them in underneath them as far as taking them away from their parents and, putting them on psychiatric medications. And it's just, there's just so many things that would keep an individual from wanting to fall out of line, because the repercussions for it are just severe.
That person doesn't stand a chance. That
Right.
person don't have
But let's think about those who stay within the system. That's what we're talking about here, is the way that they're brainwashed.
that's the thing. I don't really understand it because I don't have their educations. I didn't go there.
Right.
So I don't know. I didn't dare to. I wouldn't.
As I was telling you, I did. I mean, I went through a graduate school, etc. So I have many college credits, and obviously the regular school system that I've went through. It's probably not the same as it is there, but there's some similarities, at least in the methods of brainwashing us.
It comes from the same place. I was actually looking into this because it's interesting, and because we have so many social workers here in Norway. That's like the biggest thing you can be here. Then you're like, it's your guardian angel when you're a social worker. And I totally lost it.
Well, I mean, I can pick up from there because I was a social worker briefly, and I was going through extensive training, and I actually quit one day when I was sitting in the training, and they were just teaching us some of the most ridiculous BS that I've ever heard in my life. I got up in the middle of class and walked out and left it behind. I worked there for about 6 months prior to that, but they're constantly training you, and then you become an extension of the state. And then we know who controls the state. So in that way, you become an extension of the very people who are flooding our borders and essentially committing genocide against us. So it does all tie in together from the macro level on down to the micro level. And people who serve them, all of these individuals that you mentioned before, when you talk to them, there's a blank look in their face, and it's just unbelievable because they know nothing different. Their entire lives they've been taught these things, carefully conditioned to reject the truth and to have an emotional response to it, and to react towards people like us by unfriending us or lashing out and calling us names, etc. So the problem is with us, because they can't handle these things because they've never known anything different. Their reality was formulated for them. So it's just the level of brainwashing again, you're brought into this world not knowing anything other than what you're taught and based on your experiences. But all of your experiences and all your lessons and the very essence of who you are is being shaped by these people, so that when you tell the individual some truth, no matter how obvious it is, they are so deeply programmed, and these lies and this false reality is so deeply ingrained in their brains that they're going to look at you like you're crazy, unfriend you,
They
and
can't deal with it.
right, or report you, or if they're social workers, they're going to prescribe you to a
Oh yeah.
psychiatric medication,
They
etc.
will hunt you down. They
Take
will
your
hunt you
children
down
from you,
like
put
a
you in
dog.
prison.
They will. No mercy. There is no mercy in this system. There isn't room for any mercy. They beat it out of the children when they were very young, and I find that disgusting. And it's child abuse in my head. It's
Well,
nothing.
it is child abuse, but then again, tie this into the macro level, and it is flat out genocide. They're destroying our culture. They're destroying
And I
everything.
disgusting. It's my own people who is doing this. Norwegian women get children with a black guy, put this child she give birth to into a kindergarten, go to school herself to teach, to be a social worker, so she can go out and take children from another woman. It makes absolute, not that this is normal, but she wouldn't get the child first. She would do that later in life, but most likely with a black guy, because they are so fucking programmed. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
and like you were saying earlier too, the our children are not our own, just like our property and everything else, not ours.
No, it's not.
We
It's not ours. We are
the
just very lucky and very stupid with if we are allowed to have these properties. We are doing the right thing according to this narrative we have to follow. And if you don't follow this narrative, then they will come after you and take your child and make you lose your house and your things and
well,
make you,
especially if you have white children. You as
yeah,
a white
especially
mother, if you have
you
white children and you
you have
don't teach their
beautiful, if you are a single mom and you don't have too much money and you have a beautiful son and a beautiful daughter, something like this, they will come and try to take this from you. You have to be extremely strong or have a big strong family behind you not to lose your children. That's the only chance for you, really. If you stand alone, you have no chance. You are fighting a fucking 10-headed dragon, and they will use like all the lawyers on you, even their own, because the lawyers you get is paid from the state, him too. So he's not on your side. If you think he's on your side, you're fucking stupid. He's on the state side. Who pays his salary? The same people who pays the people who came and took your kids in the first place. It's and people don't see this. They think they get help at this lawyer's place, and it's sad and very very stupid in my opinion.
yeah, but
And
all things considered, knowing who's in charge and knowing who's controlling and writing these laws, and again making the money available, because they're making this money available so that they can get people to do their bidding
this
by
is big
withholding funds or
business.
signing
This
their
is big
paychecks.
business. Don't you think youth is like very excited that they can have like small Scandinavian kids on the menu?
Of course, I mean,
Seriously? This is I can't watch pictures of many of these children. I can see a child if a child is abused by looking at a picture. You can see it in the eyes, and I can tell you, so I can show signs on pictures, and you will never be able to not see it when you see a child with these kind of damages. um, this is just facts, and this is things that any kind of expert on rape will be able to tell you that is true. And yeah, it's if a child or a young woman have like very baggy under the eyes, it, that's not normal at all. That's a sign that they have ruptures or damage in the back, in the ass, literally, and it doesn't really happen. It can be in some cases of some disease, but it's very very rare. And this is
you're saying
something.
it doesn't happen naturally. It happens from trauma.
it's happened. This is trauma to the anus. This is what it is. If a young child or young woman have like very baggy eyes underneath the eyes, this is not normal. And you can see it on different things as well. In the eye, in the, it's just obvious. And they
Well,
are
I
putting
mean,
this pedophilia everywhere, on Facebook, on every fucking TV. I don't have a TV in my house. I can't even watch the news anymore because it's just pushed everywhere. And they have half-naked kids jumping around, and it's just normal, and I hate it. And I can't watch it anymore.
and it's getting progressively worse.
Yeah, it is, and it has to stop. And
Well,
I
as
had
long as these people are controlling our media, our government, etc., this is the new norm. And again, it's only going to get progressively worse. They're going to go from the homosexual agenda to making it legal and fashionable to have sex with children.
that's what they're trying to do now, I think.
There's
I
no doubt about it.
I was sitting just a random in a like I was sitting in a waiting room, and there was two ladies there, and these were clearly working for the state, and we're talking about their foster children, because this is a big thing with these women. They have two extra children in the home, and they were sitting there bragging, and you could see the woman bragging. When she was done bragging, her mouth went down, like she went, just, you could just see something wasn't right with that expression she just made after. And I noticed these things.
It was like it was an act, and then the true
Yeah,
emotions came through
yeah,
in an
she
instant.
had some very dark secret about this child, because she was bragging about how good she was doing in her new school, and she was smiling to her friend, and then, this microsecond they look down and make this. It's
It's
not like that. I'm lying. This is a fake thing, and it's just, and
it's funny that you bring that up, because even I did a show last night, and it was an instant that I just happened to pause a video, and I'm always looking at those little tiny the body language and the facial expressions that are given off by people subconsciously, and it's very revealing.
exactly, and yeah, and it's just, I see it everywhere, and it's so normal here. There are and the thing that happens when you lose your children, you go into shock. You literally go into shock for years. This is the most hardcore that can happen to a woman whatsoever. She can get raped and fucking slashed to pieces. That's nothing. They take her heart from her. And there are so many young women, and they don't know what to do. They're in this situation. My mom, we still can't communicate because of my childhood, and I'm well adult now. And this is trauma for life on the whole family. This is sisters and brothers, and this is big families getting split up, and the
Run through the
social
system.
workers are trained to go into the family and split up the family even more, so they come into the family and they make more drama in the family. It's like fire, and as you say, everything is different, everything is upside down, everything is exactly the opposite as it's supposed to be, and they think it's like this. They actually think themselves they know. These are women 25, 20, 30, 40 years old, ladies who think they know better than their parents. They don't have kids, half of them themselves.
You talk
And
about the social workers.
yeah, social workers,
Right.
they young women who just have this drive about buying the new expensive purse or some kind of shoes, or who knows what they're buying, the new iPhone or something like that. They just go for their salaries, and
Yeah,
if they
but
don't do that,
they genuinely believe they're doing the right thing because of the
I
program
think
we
so.
talked about.
I can't really think so myself. I can't think so, but I think so. It's my mind is really, it's split in two from
Uh-huh.
this, because it's mind-boggling how you can. I don't believe they
Because
can,
it's tough to
but I
understand how somebody could be brainwashed on that level, and you would never do that yourself. So you
no.
don't believe it, but then you do because you understand the system that they've been brought up in.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen it from within my whole life, and it's just been. And I've tried to point it out the whole way. I've been like, yeah, but look at that. If you're playing with my mind, and I've fucking pointed it out the whole way. So I just think I got like this big red stamp on my case, says extremely what is it called, difficult or something, impossible, maybe, that I'm an impossible case, because they've never been able to. So they don't really try anymore. They don't put me to any kind of. I don't have
Brainwashing her.
I don't have to go anywhere to get my money anymore. They stopped doing that because I'm not going. I'd rather sit at home with no money than go to their fucking things. So, and
And they hate people like you. And they hate people like me. And they hate people who refuse to conform despite the consequences. And that's what it's all about, getting people, the
we
sheeple,
have
to
to.
conform.
If we don't do that, we will be fucking. I don't want to be running around uh, teaching other people's kids a big fat lie I learned myself to be the truth. I don't want to do that. I don't want to see young people out in the town being mean and evil to each other. I don't want to see them fucking stand around peeing on cars and have no respect for nothing or anybody anymore.
But it
It's
was
just,
never like that before,
it,
obviously. I mean,
it is, it's disgusting, and it's like, they're like fucking animals. Yeah, yeah, I'm actually speechless about this. This is really just
well, because
people.
it's
People are
societal norms
people
now.
are acting like animals. That there is no sweetness. Today I met a lady. She was outside and she didn't have any money, and she was picking up cigarettes from the floor, and I asked her something, and I had cigarettes up, so I threw down some cigarettes for her. When I came up in my apartment, I told her to go to the window on the other side so I could give her some cigarettes. And some other girls see this, and they actually look at me like they seen an alien.
Because you were doing something nice.
Yeah, and it's like this. If you stand up in the bus for an old lady, they won't even take your spot because they are so used to getting stamped on and being invisible.
Right.
The old people, the weak people in this country, is they put the grandparents in a home, and then they start fighting about the about the what they're getting when they die before they're dead. They start fighting about who is getting what in the not even dead parents' house yet, and this is the mentality
Well,
you're seeing. It's like animals. It's like,
but it's the conditioning. It's
it's
everything
disgusting. It's
everything that you're
really
talking about is
disgusting.
it definitely is. But everything you're talking about, and I know you've heard me talk a few times at least. It all starts from the top, and you have this alien hostile group of people who are controlling everything, to include our reality. They create a dog eat dog world. They create an environment where everyone is out for himself, and you can't live in peace, and you can't have prosperity, and you can't live the natural way that Norwegians would live, or I'm Scottish, as Scottish people would live, etc. When you have people like that creating societal norms, they're bringing out the absolute worst in everybody. They've turned everything on its head, and this isn't the way that we were meant to live. And it will drive people to insanity, legitimate. I mean, just it'll drive you out of your mind. There's incredibly high suicide rates. People don't fit in. And those who do aren't truly happy anyways, because like you said, they're just chasing the next check, and they're living in an environment that's hostile. It's not the way we as European people were meant to live. If we lived in a country, if you lived in Norway and it was only Norwegians, and the rulers of your country and the people who controlled your media and everyone who, the social workers and the entire system from the top down was Norwegian people who had the interests of their fellow Norwegians in mind, then we would be living in a virtual utopian society. However, that's not the case. Again, we have a hostile alien force in charge. They're shaping our lives, our minds, etc. And this is the result of it. You have social workers who are brainwashed. You have people who are just heartless and mean, because that's the only reality they've ever known, unfortunately, and it is the new norm.
Exactly, and it's disgusting and it's terrible.
I just don't think people understand how different, how unimaginably, unrecognizably different things would be if these people weren't maliciously causing all of these problems, because they don't understand it. I mean, you do with your individual experiences. I do with my individual experiences, where I grew up and what I've went through, just the same with you and every other individual.
We both know how much you have to go through to actually wake up. It's not like someone just can tell you something and you will get out of that imaginary world. It's just a long process. I've been on it since 14 years this year, I guess, since 9/11. That was when it started for me, when I started looking into these things. And
But I'll tell you what, even for people on our level who have, 8, 10, 14 years, or even several decades of looking into this, it's still hard to step back and understand just how everything and everyone in the world today has been adversely affected and influenced to the degree that they are not who they would otherwise be. Everything has been turned on its head. We're not who we would be as individuals or as a collective. So it's very difficult to sit back and understand, again, on both the macro and micro level, how everyone and everything has been torn apart and turned upside down. And again, the world would be an unrecognizably different place, or your country would be, if they haven't been doing all of these things that they're doing. In the many ways that they influence every aspect of our lives, every thought that we have, our very reality.
yeah, exactly. No, it's just it's mad how they're doing this.
How much control they have over us.
Yeah, and it's clearly it's total control. They have total control from we start to school on in kindergarten and until we're like, until we get it. Fuck, now they start here that they want to make it legal so they can start suicide people with a syringe, and this, then you go to a psychiatrist and the psychiatrist don't like you, so he will convince you to get an appointment and go kill yourself, literally. That's what's gonna happen. I don't have a second of doubt, because I've seen how they treat people now. They're not gonna not take this opportunity. This is too good. This is what they wanted all the time. Eugenics, so they can kill people off as they wish. That's like
it's what they're doing.
That's all these fucking, what are they called? These Russian, neo-Nazis, or not what you call them. It's a crazy philosophy that they, and now our people, white people, and they're like just extremely stupid, I think, but they're starting to think this is okay. They are so brainwashed that they actually start to think this is the right thing to do. We should do this. How can they?
Well, just look back on your lifetime, and you might be just a little bit younger than I am, but you've been around long enough to witness from one decade to the next, how frogs in the boiling water, which is basically them doing a little bit at a time, and it seems a little bit out there, a little bit crazy, and then they just push it a little bit further. If you were to look back 20 years ago, and even think that something like you're talking about right now would be a possibility. If you heard yourself talking back then, you would say, no way, it would never happen. But yet here we are, where things just as crazy as that are already happening.
Worse. It's even worse, and that's the thing. And these people who are doing this, they don't understand it themselves. They are gonna piss some young child off, some young kid off at some point, because they don't even realize what danger they put themselves in by doing this job. Because if you come in and remove a 13-year-old child and you fuck this child's life up, he's getting mistreated from he's 13 in their care system. He will remember the face of the lady who came and removed him from this house.
Yeah,
He
but the people in charge, they
he
don't
will
get the
go
name.
after that lady, and they don't understand this fact. They don't understand. They think, and that's the thing. They think all people are as good, and they wouldn't do that. So this child wouldn't do that, of course, and this immigrant wouldn't rape anybody. They wouldn't do that. Why
But
would
these
they?
social workers and these sheeple, they don't think at all. That's the problem. I mean, they
No, but
think there's
they
done
are
for them.
deviant people themselves. I hope you don't mind I take a cigarette on air. It
No, you,
can't be
by all
illegal.
means.
Mm-mm.
So
Everything is anyway soon.
it
No,
is 5 o'clock in the morning where
it
she's at as well,
yeah, it
guys. And
is.
she's been up a long time and she speaks wonderfully. I'm not saying she doesn't, but just keep in mind here, she's fighting through a long night right here.
Yeah, it's 24 hours and yeah, 8 o'clock, I think. Yeah, it is. I was up early yesterday, so it have been a very long night actually.
I do the same thing where I will go days
It
without
doesn't
sleeping.
matter. I don't have any plans tomorrow. It's Saturday. I can sleep all day if I want to. So,
Okay.
and this is just such an important subject. And I actually tried to. I told you this earlier. I tried to make videos a few times, but I can't do it. And this is much more easy because now we have a conversation and people can listen in. And I have no idea how people are reacting to anything of what I'm saying. I don't have a chat window. I haven't even tried to look for it. I guess I can open it somewhere.
Yeah, there is a way to open it. And, I don't
Yeah,
know if
yeah,
there's
I
people.
found it.
I typically do like an open mic where other people will join us, and I could have a couple people come in if you want. Otherwise, there's still lots that we can talk about, just you and
Yeah,
I.
I don't know. It's up to you. It's your show.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Um, as far as controlling people, I'm going to have John Friend on tomorrow, and this is a gentleman that I've done shows with in the past, and he's been around for a while. But because of his political views, he was fired. But in Europe, obviously, he would be sitting in jail right now, and so would I, just for the things that we've said. And when you fall out of line, especially if you're going to call out the people who are responsible by name, then there's repercussions, just as you're finding out in the system from social workers and all these brain dead, brainwashed people who are just basically an extension of the people that I'm always talking about, an extension
Yeah,
of Zog, if you will.
yeah, exactly. It's and that was I was talking about the school the education these social workers are getting. That's straight from Germany. From this. Oh, me and I'm so bad at names, but it's a school in Germany that started out with psychiatrists. This It's a Jewish school,
Well, they all are, whether they are or not in name, they all are in effect
but
as far as the effects they're having.
that's where the whole education comes from this school in Germany. I have links on it somewhere on my Facebook page. It's just crazy, and it's like this the whole way through. You can always find some link back to this.
To the common denominators.
Exactly, it's always there.
I'm just looking at the comment section here. I sent the link to Chris Taylor, so if you're listening, you can check your email. I don't know if anybody else here wants to join in as well. But she's saying, because someone was asking if you had a YouTube channel, she doesn't have a YouTube channel because it's difficult.
Yeah, I do have a YouTube channel,
Oh,
but
you do? Oh, you haven't made videos yet.
I don't have any videos on it.
Well,
Yeah,
because talking to yourself, and I've done this for years, it's kind of weird sometimes.
yeah, it's very weird. I
Yeah.
can't really do it. It's no.
Yes, much easier and more productive even to have a conversation.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's just more logic
Right, right.
in a way.
More natural.
Yeah, exactly. Where do I see the comments? I can't.
Let me give you the link here. So then maybe if somebody says something you want to respond to, here's the chat. You see the little chat box on the side there? It's right there on the right.
Yeah.
Just click on that so you can enter the chat room.
It's just.
I mean, I posted it. I just did this live. As soon as you said you wanted to talk, I set it up and I didn't let anybody know, but we do have 30 people or so listening right now. So I'm sure someone would want to join.
I'm not gonna read that.
Keep in mind, you can't take too much offense to what these people say because I have an army of trolls who like to throw insults around and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
they're welcome with the insults too. I don't mind. If I try to comment anywhere on YouTube, I always get attacked because I can't spell. I don't spell English that well, and people can.
Yeah, you put the comma in the wrong place. So everything you're saying doesn't matter because you put a comma in the wrong place.
Exactly. They just attack me because I have some spelling. They can read my comment, but they don't answer any of the questions or anything. They just attack because you don't spell right. And it's, again, this kind of, it's again the same thing. It's retard. It's just this kind of, why would you even, why would you attack anybody for not speaking or writing like you do? Or
Well, because
like
they know that you're telling the truth.
Like you learn to do. As long as you can understand this person, isn't like communication more important than being a dickhead? I don't get it. Why is it so important to be a dickhead or just be not nice to each other anymore?
It's an attack on the messenger. It's meant to discourage you, to make you feel self-conscious, to make you go away, to make you be quiet. That's what they want.
Of course. Just shut up. Why don't you shut up? Exactly. You should just shut up. Yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
That's what they're telling us. They're just telling us to shut up.
Yeah, just shut up. Yeah, we don't want to hear this. This is too much. Yeah.
And when you persist, as I have, you hear it all, the most disgusting, vile, filthy, nasty stuff that you wouldn't even dream up. So it just goes with the territory. When you speak, even whisper the truth on any level, you might not even be calling out Jews by name. You're just talking about the things that they're doing, and they know that it's only a matter of time for people to come to the only logical conclusion or the only source of all these problems. So they will attack people at all levels just by your grammar or whatever else it may be, any way that they can.
Exactly, because I don't know why people are so afraid, but I think it comes back to they know if this falls apart, they have to do something else. They won't get paid every month. They won't be able to live in that house. Or it's the same. It goes back to the same thing. They aren't that secure either. They don't have that much either. So
right.
they are
you're talking about the individuals, the social workers, and
social workers, doctors, all these kind of people. They're not rich people either. They don't have that much. They are still living on the mercy of the state. So they kind of have to agree to have this money coming in so they can pay back for their own fucking brainwash. It's kind of stupid in my head, but
it's very real. As illogical and unnatural as it would be for you or I, these are very real constraints that they put on people.
All my friends who have educations are in the same situation, and it's I can kind of see the good part in it. I wish I did at some point, and I do sometimes, because life would be so much more easy if I could just go through it and be stupidly naive about everything and just love life and don't give a shit about anything. But it doesn't work like that anymore.
No.
Sadly. But and I think that's why I'm trying to now I come to the point where I just realized everything is a big fat lie. Everything is upside down, and what's not upside down yet will be upside down very soon if we don't start to do something. And the last thing I want to see is more children getting hurt.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to prevent now, because it's just so obvious, and children shouldn't be dancing around in small short skirts and be, what are they calling it?
Promiscuous.
Yeah, they shouldn't be acting like that. They shouldn't. It's just so wrong, and it's
Well, everything is wrong, my dear, and it's just going to get so much worse. And you know, we're talking about the immigration and way that, I mean, they're just going all out with it now. And what you're seeing in your neighborhood, in your individual experience, is only going to get magnified. It's only going to be exponentially worse. And
exactly.
we all want to avoid that. We all want. You're talking about wanting a simple life. That's all I ever wanted. I want to live in nature, in the woods, and that's what's normal, and that's what's natural to me. And I want to talk to my neighbors and be part of a community. And when someone needs help, I want to help them. And
Exactly.
this is what comes natural to us as a people. And we're not allowed to be that way. Even those who aren't aware, even those who aren't talking about the problems, even on a micro level, let alone on a macro level, they are still being forced into compliance, into complying, into going along with the narrative and the system. And they have
Yes.
so many ways of keeping us in line that it is very difficult for an individual to break free of the brainwashing. Or again, the money, the way they're signing our checks, they're giving us, or even you're talking about the governments or these organizations and institutions, etc. They will withhold funds if these people and these groups do not go along with their agenda, with their narrative. And they're driving us to a point that I don't even think most of my audience understands just how bad it's going to be. We can talk about, you know, what they did to the, you know, you're talking about rape and stuff that's going on in your community now and this at this day and age. Look what they did to the Germans after World War II. Look what they did in Russia to the Russians, the Russian girls and
Exactly.
boys there.
It's
And,
coming. It's and it's underway already.
well,
I
they have slavery in Israel. We were talking about this last night, but they are enslaving our women, mostly from Europe, Eastern Europe, but all over the place.
mhm,
This is the type of stuff that they're doing now, but it is going to get unimaginably worse in very short order.
exactly, and it is going on here as well in a much more kind of disgusting way, I would say. Young people don't date each other anymore. They just have fucking friends. There isn't any kind of relationship between people anymore. You can't go out in a bar or sit down and have a conversation with anybody because the music will be very loud, and it's always full of
Superficial, nothing, no meaning, no purpose.
exactly, and people are starving for it. In the same way, they don't say that out loud, because if they say that out loud, they will be judged. Their friends will maybe not be their friends anymore. They are way too worried about what everybody else thinks, and that's the, I think that's one of the biggest of these. It's a kind of self-governance they are driving. You know,
Well,
they they have themselves as a tiny thing, and they always think what everybody else thinks about them,
right.
about their person, and what clothes they have on, and they think
But
about
nobody
every
cares
tiny details. Nobody gives a shit.
because they're so caught up thinking that everybody else cares
Exactly the
about what they
same.
have.
Exactly. They just go around in their own little state of
Well,
mind, and you can't have this conversation with anybody because they will get scared, and yeah, you will see this monkey banging in their head like Homer have inside. You will see him in the eyes of them just be like
blank.
a, a blank dead look, and it's
No depth to anything. They're just like they're cookie cutters. They're cut out of the same mold. But here's the thing: whenever I go out in public, I'm haunted by this. I'm going to say it drives me crazy, but it's enough to drive a man insane because I see all of these things and I know exactly why they are the way they are, and I know that it would be the exact opposite, and it should be, and it would be, and it's just every single aspect of our lives, every part of our reality, everything has been molded for us.
everything is
Again,
control.
it's been molded for us, but it's against our interests and against our very nature. So you're talking about all these different things, and of course anyone listening right now would understand and identify with most of it, if not all, and then they have their own experiences and observations. But I'm always looking at this stuff and understanding that it would never be that way if it were not for the malicious intent of the people who are writing and pushing that narrative. And that's the only way we're going to change it. You see that? As long as they're in charge, as long as they're pushing that narrative and flooding our borders and creating societal norms and doing all of these different things, it's not going to change. It's
No,
only
no,
going to it's only going to get worse.
and it has to start in the schools. We have to start with the teachers. Those are the most important people. The teachers is because those are the one, and I know there's a lot of like a little bit older teachers out there who actually are very good people, and people are very good people. That's the thing, and Scandinavian people just have big, stupid, smooshy heart, and apparently very easy to brainwash as well. I guess not everybody, but a lot of them. And I even talk to foreign people here, and I speak with a lot of Spanish and people from Romania, and I have some friends from Russia as well, or Lithuanian and Lithuania and these places. Um, there's a lot of these people here. I meet more of them than people from Bergen or this area. Um, but these people say same thing. They they know these new immigrants aren't coming for the same reasons they're coming, and with the Romanians they say it straight out that they come to change things. They are here to make trouble. They are troublemakers. They can't stay in apartments. These are my friends I'm talking about. But they have an apartment and they will live it in for 6 months, and it would be trashy because they don't know how to use the things we have. They don't know how to
Well, they
clean
don't
the
care to. They don't care to.
not just that. They will actually try. I have they will go like with the broom over the floor 20 times during the night, but they don't use the things like we do. They don't have the same kind of mentality in these things. These things are so normal for us. We know what it is before we can walk even. This is just in our DNA. We just know what they're for, but
But it's impossible for them to assimilate, even if
these
they want to.
gypsies and these people, they just don't know, and it's not really their fault even. They're actually good people. They're nice people. If I'm somewhere and I have problems, I would go to the gypsies because they will help you. They will, because they are nice people when you don't have anything and you're stuck somewhere. But it's just people always just judge each other and don't look behind the real facade, because we are all getting fed with stories about this group of people or that group of people or whatever. We just have to learn our group of people is also a good group of people, and we should stand together, and then we can be friends with all the other kind of people as well. We don't have to hate anybody to be a group of people. We don't have to be like the Jews. if I don't know if they are the problem really. I don't give a shit anymore because it's so deep. It goes,
Well,
yeah,
because what happens is, like we were saying earlier, they have essentially created an army of de facto Jews, people who have been brainwashed and who accept their narrative and who continue their narrative and push their narrative
it
themselves.
goes so deep in the root, in the root in our societies, and
Yeah, that all the branches on that tree then become tainted. All the branches on that tree become an extension of the root problem. Because I have a guy who trolls me in the chat room here saying there's only 1,300 Jews in Norway. So in other words, there's no way they're causing all of these problems. Yet they control the. I mean, you could give me the power and control over the money to sign people's checks to withhold funds
I
and
can
to
sell.
and to write the narrative, and I could create whatever type of society in Norway that I wanted to, based on just having control of the money, which again would then I could buy up the media and everything else, and I could influence a billion people, a trillion people. It would be limitless as to how many people I could
We have a
influence as an
Zionist.
individual.
We have a Zionist government, no doubt about it. Our Norwegian government is in the same family as Bush and these people.
Well,
The,
this is the best type of argument that these Jews, and he could tell he's not a Jew all he wants, but that's the best argument they can make, that, well, Jews are a
it
small
doesn't.
percentage of the population.
Irrelevant. It's irrelevant because they come in and push their. You have to drive. You have to have this and this in the schools, and it's the same all over. Why does it have to be like that? It's not factual schools in the things we learn our kids. It's
It's a trickle down effect, even with like they write the books and they write the narrative. Essentially, let's just say that they write the narrative, and then they will withhold funds from the public school system itself. And then, as a teacher or even as a social worker, you could apply this to any avenue of control that they have, private or public. They control it from the top down. It's a trickle down effect, so that again, the organization itself is controlled by them, and then the individuals who work for that organization are also essentially, albeit indirectly, it's still direct links to them and that power. So they control people in that way. And you were talking about social workers and teachers, and that's what we began talking about on a micro level. These people are controlled not only their minds by the indoctrination, but also by their wants and their needs and their simple, short-sighted desires, their individualism to buy this and to purchase that, or simply to make the ends meet and pay their bills. So they control us. They control us in that way. Again, even in this country nowadays, where you're seeing people fired for being politically incorrect and not going along the lines of whatever dogma they have.
exactly.
So they're going to keep you in line in that way, and there doesn't have to be 500 million of them or 1 million of them even bullying you. They're not strong arming us. They're not forcing us.
The right people in the right places. They have
the power. They have to have the right power. They have to feel.
It's their government and it's their rules. The rules is not in my country, in Norway. It's not, the rules are not put up to protect me as a person. I can go yell at the police as much as I want. They're not going to help me.
Right.
They are there to help the people who are stupid enough to work in the police or as social workers, in case people like me go out of actually become so desperate I will do something I shouldn't. So they're not there to protect me. They're there to protect someone else from me when I get enough.
Well, they're there by essence and by extension, they're there to keep you in line.
Exactly.
But the point that I was making there is just they rule by proxy. And then they have these people, the police and everyone that you're talking about right here, they all have an incentive. It's not just the fact that they've been brainwashed, and when you talk to them, they have a blank look in their eyes. They're about as deep as a puddle. But it's not just that they're brainwashed. They have a financial incentive, and not just a financial incentive. They could then be ruined, not just fired, but you can be put in prison. I don't know how the laws are in your country. I'm not sure if Holocaust denial itself is illegal, but there are obviously thought crime laws that just going against them, questioning them, saying something that doesn't line up directly and exactly with their narrative will end you up in prison.
Yeah, but you need to get a weekly magazine or something to know what kind of narrative you have to live up to this week, because it's changed it's changing all the time because it has to, for their system to work. They have to keep people a little bit confused and a little bit, oh, can we joke about this now, is this okay? People have to be docile and right out stupid. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. I know I called a lot of people stupid, but it's not meant like that. It's just this.
Well, they're definitely brainwashed.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just so clear. It's just so clear, and they will be in the groups of grieving parents who are sitting crying because they just lost their children, and they will come in and try to convince this parent that the social work, that the social office was right by taking their child from, stuff like this. And it's grotesque, and it's right out just mean and disgusting. In my world, it's just, you can't, yeah, you just can't trust anything
Or anyone.
anymore like that. If you go trust science or whatever, you can't. It's the most stupid you can do. You shouldn't, because clearly, again, with the vaccines and everything, it just ties in. It's just, everything is so connected, and it's not even fun anymore. It's not even fun that people don't see the big picture anymore, because we should be talking with everybody. We should be talking with the flat earth movement, and all these people should see all this is tied together, like the genocide and the stories we are getting. We always get the stories from the ones who win the war. That's logic. It's not the losers who write the stories. And we get and we have to stand up and stand together, because there is good people out there, and it's just not enough to fucking sit in Facebook or YouTube and discuss these things anymore. Something has to be done, because it's,
Well, people have to question things first and foremost.
they have been doing like a ritual on the scene for years, in your face, satanic rituals. I've never been particularly Christian, but I do have
Christian values.
Christian values, of course, and I do live with just this belief that if you do good, good will come to you. But when you watch like all these kinds of shows and whatever it is, it's just full of,
But Christian values, they don't
yeah,
apply in a
exactly.
multicultural
You
society.
just you just rotten from the inside in a way,
Right.
and you don't see it, and you become addicted to this rush, this TV series, or this
They lull you to
whatever
sleep.
Big Brother show you're watching. You just need this fix from this show, because you
Well, it's an escape from
identify with
reality.
people, and you find friends there. You have your friends in these shows, and it's,
Well,
yeah,
it's an escape from reality for a lot of people, because life isn't the way it should be, and
exactly.
you escape.
It's a really easy escape also. It's like the best one, because it really gives you that, just, yeah, forget everything. I don't have to think about my work. I can pop it.
My life sucks, so let me go live vicariously through these people.
Exactly. And it worked. It's been working for years, but I think people are starting to get a headache or something from
Well, things
this.
are getting so bad and they're so far gone that there are people who are questioning things and waking up, but at the same time, you're surrounded. We all are surrounded by people who are mostly stupid slash brainwashed, who are, again, they're de facto Jews, is the way I would call them, to the point that you even said, I don't even care if it's Jews, because you got a bunch of de facto Jews around you.
It doesn't matter who the fuck they are. It doesn't matter if
But the
someone's
point, it matters who's making them who they are, though. That's my point that I was going to make here, is that it matters who is responsible for making them what and who they are at this point in time. And these people who are around you, who are shitty and who are individualistic and selfish and short-sighted, and
why are they like this?
they wouldn't be that way if they weren't being conditioned, brainwashed, and enforced to be that way in the ways that we're talking about right now. So they are being shaped. They are being turned into these scumbag, selfish people who you don't want to have around you, rather than the type of neighbors that we had a generation before us and before and beyond that, where again, your neighbors are there to help you and you enjoy social interaction and you go out and you talk to people and you do things for people and it's reciprocated back to you, because in a homogeneous society, in a homogeneous European society, that's what's taking place. When you're in an environment where everything that you do to them is going to be, again, reciprocated, and they're going to return the favor, so to speak, it helps everybody, it benefits everybody. But if we're the only people who are engaging in altruistic, selfless behavior, and we have a bunch of hostile foreign invaders, essentially, and also selfish people of our own blood who have been brainwashed and turned into de facto Jews, then pretty soon, as nice people, we're going to learn that we either have to stop socializing with people and just cut ourselves off from everyone so we don't get taken advantage of, or to become a piece of shit no better than they are and adopt their ways and be a dog in a dog-eat-dog world.
But that's the thing, because a person isn't always just nice. It's not possible. If you get pushed enough, you will have to get that anger out somehow. That is just a law. That is a law, like
a natural response, basically.
It's a natural response. That's a law. If you get pushed enough, you have to get that energy out of you.
We need to take that energy and transfer it from an individual who's doing something that is not going to make sense, and come together and take that energy and focus it on changing things.
Exactly. We have to work together and exactly as you say, actually convert this energy to something useful instead of using it on meaningless petty things in our personal life. We should actually make a big wave, because I think that is fully possible, and I think people are so sick of all of this pointing, name calling, childish behavior. It's nothing else than just, again, being a fucking dick on purpose, just for being a dick. Why would you be that? Because some movie taught you that white guy, he's a retard, and and it's like this. It just goes together in a way, and it's
well, in every way. But you got to look at it like this too. As individuals, when we break free from the brainwashing and from the system itself, we isolate ourselves more or less, and then we're just like, free agents, if you will, floating around. It's very easy to fall in line, and if you have it in you, I don't know how anyone could turn the switch off, but to fall back in line and be brain dead, you have a lot of company then.
Yeah.
But for those of us who fall out, we don't have anywhere to go. We're kind of lost in space, and there's no organization or agency or group or nothing real for us to come together around so that we can do something about this. And just to clear
you can't trust any group or organization anyways. No. That was, as I told you earlier, if somebody is getting money in some kind of, if I go to a organization somewhere and I find out one of these guys is getting money for being there, I'm out of there. I have nothing there to do, because this is not a real organization. This is put up by someone else who have money to pay them to do what agenda they have. Yeah, to help you. Exactly. And I'm not interested in that kind of help. If you need money to help me, you're not you're not the kind of help I need. Because that's not helping.
Well, especially if you know where that money's coming from and who's signing that check.
Money isn't really the issue here. Money is just something put up here to make us, it's the carrot that makes us go the wrong direction. It has nothing to do with reality. I never became happy, no matter what expensive computer or what kind of shoes I had, ever. Those things doesn't make me happy. It just can't. It's not human. It's not what human loves. It's not what human do. It just isn't. And
the problem with that too, though, is again, it's not just about having nice things or whatnot. Most of our people these days are struggling just to put food on the table.
Exactly, but it's like exactly, but that's what they're using to keep us down, because now they made us so addicted to their system. We can't even we don't know how to make a carrot even. We don't know how to fucking make our own food. We don't know anymore. We
Well, they
lost.
want us to be dependent upon their system. They want us to be dependent upon the money that they
And we
create
are.
out of
We
nothing.
are. If the supermarket went empty tomorrow, chaos would rise here.
Yep.
Restaurant would get smashed down, and food would get stolen there, because Norwegian people really have no idea what kind of animal their meat is from even.
Right. Or what
It's
kind of animal is poisoning their meat.
exactly. It's just, and then again, I about that, I think most of this GMO and stuff is kind of propaganda, or and a very good scare tactic as well. Because if a fruit were uh, modified so much, it wouldn't still be the same fruit. I think it would
Yeah, but
change.
I mean,
The body wouldn't recognize that food as the food it was before, so the apple wouldn't be an apple anymore. In a way, the body wouldn't
but here's
recognize
it's
this.
funny you use Apple as an example, because I was kind of cutting in there to make a point here that I have eaten apples from trees that were grown by truly organic means. I mean, you can't trust just organic. It has to be you have to use the right fertilizer, and everything has to be right for it to truly be organic. And
Exactly.
I had an apple recently that was grown from such a tree in Utah, and it doesn't even taste. It makes the apples that you get in the store taste fake. So there is definitely a difference, and it's not just from genetic modified. Something could be genetically modified for better or for worse. So when people
Exactly.
just
They
want to,
put got loads of wax on it and spray them with tons of chemicals,
exactly,
and of course, and
it's not just GMOs. Is my point. A
no,
GMO could be good
exactly.
or
But I
bad.
think the GMO is particular is most of a scare, because I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can. They are trying, and you see how terrible their Frankenstein experiments
Yeah, but of
are.
course they've modified fruits and vegetables and stuff to grow in certain way. They definitely have the ability to modify fruits and vegetables and even
Yeah,
living
they do.
beings. So they do have the ability to do that. But and I don't care to get into this conversation, and you may or may not know it, but the kosher symbols that they have on our food is a way that Jews know what food has been genetically modified for better and what food has been genetically modified, or
Yeah,
not just genetically modified, but tainted with toxins, etc., so on and so forth. So the poisoning of our wells, of our food supply, of our air, etc., is very real.
it's crazy. It's crazy. And in the
It's so
same time,
crazy that most people won't believe it. It's so crazy that most
and
people
in
would
the
dismiss
same
their own
time,
eyes, and
people,
they'll look up at the sky and tell you that that's contrails, or they'll look at the labels on the food, and when I'm pointing them to Jews themselves who are admitting that their food is held to a higher standard, etc., they'll still call me crazy. It's just people will not believe it because it's such a vast conspiracy, if you will. And it's so
yeah,
hard to imagine that any individual would do this, let alone an entire group of people or a large percentage of that group would conspire to do these things. But it's taking place nonetheless. It's a fact.
yeah, it is a fact, and it's just mental. People, yeah, in Denmark now, I'm shocked that people aren't reacting to the immigrants, and this have changed in the last years. I haven't when this is new in Denmark, because before the Danish people would be very patriotic and proud of being Danish, but now I've been gone there, haven't been living there for 16 years now, and it's not the same. They don't have the same spirit anymore. They have the same kind of washed down um, imitation of some kind of
Well, I mean, these people don't
mad
even know who they
scientist
are.
wet dream of a society. It's just
Right.
crazy. It's a crazy world, and
Well,
we are
and
doing this
people
to
who
the
think for
children.
themselves, people like us who think for ourselves, are thought to be crazy by the craziest people of all, they don't have it in them to think for themselves, and they
That's
call
the
us
thing.
crazy.
desto more you realize, desto more crazy you will sound for any person, really, because I don't know, and I don't really care about sounding crazy or not. This is just, it's been around me my whole life. I've just seen it and I see it so clear. This is just like screaming in my face, and I'm starting to get annoyed at other people for not seeing the same thing as me, because it's so obvious. It's like right in your face. Why don't people see this? Why am I the one who have to see these things? It's ridiculous because,
Well,
yeah,
even but just see, you're seeing all the things that are wrong, and I'm just taking it to the next level, and I'm telling people, you see everything's wrong. This isn't natural. You can't tell me that it's normal, and you think that these immigrants are going to be just like you. You can't. You don't believe this stuff. There's no way you believe that they're actually contributing to your society and that you need them. All this other nonsense, the many other countless lies as well. But isn't it obvious who's doing it, who's responsible for it? You can't deny it, really. All you can do is call me crazy and attack the messenger. But it is so obvious at this point in time, painfully obvious, that I fail to understand how an otherwise reasonable person, an intelligent person, because a lot of these people are intelligent. They probably have 20 IQ points on me. They're a lot smarter than I am. But for some reason, that brainwashing is just, their minds fell out, like you said. Their minds were
yeah,
so open and fell out.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
the programming, and it's just, to me, I've reduced it to this. It's just the nature of the average man, or the average person in general, that we are wired to be followers by and large. It's nature's way. It makes sense, and that the vast majority of people are always going to have a herd mentality, and they're going to follow whatever the societal norms are, whether it's bringing the best out in them or the worst. So in this instance, we have a malicious group of people who are in charge. You can expect the worst to be brought out in these people. And it makes sense when you understand things on a macro level, social psychology, essentially, where you can apply it to the micro level as well, to the individuals, so that you can, again, understand the nature of the average person, and then how society and how the system itself is used to manipulate people. But still, with all that being said, and that's the best excuse I can offer people at this point in time, I still have a hard time when I'm talking to somebody and I'm telling them, look, you see this, you see that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it all adds up. You can't even deny it. You can call me names. You can say whatever you want to say about me as an individual, but you cannot deny these facts. You cannot dismiss the connection between the people who control this, and they just happen to control the media. They just happen to print the money. They just happen to control our food supply. They just happen to, etc., so on and so forth.
It's all one big coincidence. Why can't you just accept that it's just a coincidence? And that's the thing. And they will never ever admit if they do something wrong. They will always have someone else. Then they can blame the judge in the courtroom or the police or someone else. They can always say, but it was because they advised us to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
And they themselves paid for the advice. It's just all they. It's like it's circular reasoning, and they're biting themselves in the tail. That's what's going on, literally. They are using each other and everything, and they just point around. If I discover a mistake here, they will point to a mistake over there that makes this mistake. So I will go over there and look, and they will point over there somewhere, and I have to go look over there, and then they point back at these first people. And this is how it's going. This is how court systems and everything of this is working. It's just a big fat, oh, but he did that, blah, blah, and they're just hiding behind each other.
It's hard to make sense of it all. If again, if it's very difficult to make sense of it all if you don't understand things from the top down. It's impossible to understand the craziness. It seems like chaos, but it's controlled chaos. It seems like
totally controlled chaos, and that's the beauty part of it, because they will put figures in the right positions. So they will have these two lawyers in these two positions. They know these two lawyers have a good connection and will do whatever in job and still be able to be in the same courtroom or stuff like this. They will be very smart about these things. They will. It's the whole thing is it's it's the judge children who is the lawyers, you know. It's
But it's the same thing too. We say they're not really good lawyers. They're not really good at what they do. They're just connected and they're all in on it together.
yeah, exactly. It's circular reasoning. That's what it is. But can we take like 5 minutes break?
Actually, I mean, I would, at this point in time, I know it's 6 o'clock your time. I would like to come back to this. As I told you when you contacted me, I haven't eaten all day and I haven't slept for probably 24 hours either. I definitely want to finish the conversation. I mean, we could talk on a daily basis. There's so much to talk about. But yeah, rather than a 5-minute break, let's take a 24 or 48-hour break if that's okay with you.
Okay, just say when you're ready again. I'm gonna be around.
Yeah, no, it's great talking to you. I'm really happy that you reached out to me, and I look forward to talking to you again. I'm sorry not to continue going, but I'm just
it's really great to actually have someone who understands a little bit more, because if I start talk with anybody really about this, people normally just freaks out and don't want to speak to me anymore. So
yes, ma'am. I believe me, I understand that, and you got to think about all the things that they have to think about. And they have to consider before they think outside the box, because they would lose everything, potentially
I'm just
lose
really
everything.
bored with this dumbed down conversation. I'm sick of have to be careful with my words because I might step on somebody. I'm never going to call a man in a dress for a woman. That is never going to happen. He is a man in a dress. I'm going to call you what you are. And I'm going to call a man in a dress to his face. Because no matter how many body parts he cuts off, that is a guy in a dress. He cannot be a woman. And they want us to take like these unreal things as facts. And this is one thing that helps them a lot, that people are confused about what's what. And it's helping. But let's take this break so I can get some tea.
Okay.
More after, because I can talk forever about this subject. It's so interesting, and there is just too much to talk about.
So can I? Yeah. So listen, have a good night, and I'll talk to you on Facebook, and we'll set something up to continue up where we left off.
Okay, super.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye.